If you pause for a second right now and think about the last hour, just the last hour of your life, how many things were just fighting for your attention?
Oh, it's endless.
Exactly. You've got emails, texts, all the social media pings, deadlines, demands from, I don't know, friends, family, news alerts. It is constant. We're living in this age of just unprecedented options and information. But this feeling of being busy, it often leaves us feeling completely unfulfilled, kind of directionless.
Well, that feeling is exactly what we're confronting today. That sense of constant motion, but no real progress. Being active but not really effective. And for this deep dive, we're getting into the principles from English, Reuben Juma Onunga's work on ruthless prioritization.
And this is important, right? Because we're not just talking about some abstract theory.
Not at all. This is wisdom forged in experience. It's from a practitioner who figured out that just pure effort without any kind of targeted clarity, well, it just leads to burnout.
Okay, let's break that down right away. Because the core problem, as the source sees it, isn't that people lack talent. It's not a lack of effort. It's that our lives are basically overcrowded.
Yes. Busyness has become this modern disguise for having actual direction. We think the problem is all this external pressure, the workload. But Onunga just flips that script. He argues the real issue is poor prioritization. We're trying to carry everything at once.
Every demand, every opportunity.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to pull out the practical tools and maybe more importantly, the moral and spiritual alignment needed to get that clarity back, to stop reacting and start, living deliberately.
So let's start with the word that probably jumped out at everyone listening, ruthless. I mean, in a culture that talks so much about empathy and community, that word sounds jarring. It sounds selfish.
It does. And what's great is that the author addresses this head on. Ruthless here is completely stripped of that negative meaning. It does not mean cruelty. It means clarity without apology.
Clarity without apology. Okay.
It's the courage to choose what actually aligns with your purpose, and then, and this is the key part, the discipline to protect that choice, even when it means disappointing people.
So we have to swallow this really uncomfortable truth, the source states, which is you cannot do everything, and you are never meant to.
That's it.
And prioritization, then, is really it's the act of deciding. And by definition, that means cutting off good things to save the great things. But that's the hard part, isn't it?
It is the hardest part. Because the good things, they often come with social validation or, short-term rewards. But the source gives us this powerful analogy from nature to help ground the idea. Think of a river.
Okay.
A river gets its power at speed because it flows in a defined path. If you took that same water and just scattered it in every direction, all you'd have is a wide, shallow, stagnant marsh.
That's a great visual.
And it's the same with growth. Any gardener knows this. If you just let a plant grow everywhere, you get exhaustion, not excellence. You have to prune it. You have to remove the dead weight to direct all that finite energy toward the strongest fruit.
So if your life feels overwhelming, it's often because everything from a tiny email notification to a huge career goal is being treated with the exact same level of urgency.
And when everything is urgent, nothing is sacred.
Which brings us right to these destructive modern myths we need to just dismantle.
Myth number one, and it's one we actually celebrate on our resumes, is the illusion of multitasking.
We love multitasking. We reward it.
We do, but it's the master of illusion. It gives you the feeling of being super productive while it's secretly just destroying any chance for depth or quality work. I mean, what we call multitasking is it's rapid switching of your attention. And there's this key detail called the switch cost.
The switch cost.
Yeah, every single time you jump from, say, a complex report to checking a text message and back again, you pay a price. Mental fatigue, lower accuracy, emotional exhaustion, it adds up.
And the real tragedy is that it burns all this energy, but you get no clarity from it. It just trains your brain to be restless, to need that next distraction.
And if we dig a little deeper, multitasking is often just a really effective disguise for avoidance.
How so?
Well, you can spend a whole afternoon on 15 easy, small tasks, clearing your desktop, answering unimportant emails, precisely because you're avoiding that one big, difficult, maybe scary task that needs your full focus.
You feel busy, but you've made zero progress on what actually matters.
Exactly. You've stalled on the essential work.
That makes so much sense. And once you get comfortable with that, you just fall right into myth number two. When everything is important, the danger today isn't a lack of opportunity, it's an overwhelming excess of it. And we just refuse to rank things.
And when everything sits at the same level of importance, your focus just completely collapses. Life doesn't punish you for having lots of responsibilities. It punishes you for refusing to create a hierarchy for them.
And this is where that classic distinction comes in between urgent and important.
Yes, you have to understand this. Urgent things, they shout at you. They're loud, they're immediate. It's the ringing phone, the deadline that's at 5 p.m. today, the crisis.
Right.
Important things, they whisper. They're quiet, foundational. Things like your health, your character, the quality of your family relationships, your deep work.
And if you spend your whole life just reacting to the shouting, to the fire alarms, you totally miss the quiet breakdown of what truly matters.
Until it becomes an emergency itself.
Yeah.
And then you're forced to pay attention. Ruthless prioritization is about training your mind to hear that whisper and to resist the shout.
Let's shift into the hidden costs here. Because one of the biggest drains on our energy is just the automatic yes. We say it out of guilt or fear or just wanting to be liked.
Yeah. And the core insight in the source is that every single yes is also an automatic, implicit no.
Say more about that.
When you say yes to a new commitment, joining another committee, say you are, by default, saying no to something else. You're saying no to silence, to rest, to focused work on your main goal. The wisdom here is to choose your no deliberately, right up front, instead of discovering the trade-off by accident when you're completely burned out and resentful.
I can hear people asking, though, how do you draw that line? How do you protect your purpose without just being, selfish or neglecting your obligations?
That's the critical tension. And this framework helps you shift your mindset from one of constant availability to one of conscious stewardship.
Stewardship.
Yeah. A lot of us mistake being constantly available for being variable. We think we have to be accessible 24/7 to prove our worth. But real value comes from depth and focus, and that requires protected time.
So saying no in this context can actually be an act of wisdom. You're protecting your finite resources, your time, your energy, for what you've decided is most important.
It's an act of faithfulness to your purpose. It's stewardship. And that stewardship requires actively getting rid of things. Which brings us to this idea of cutting off to grow up.
We always think growth is about adding more, right? More
Right.
skills, more contacts.
But real transformative growth, it often starts with subtraction, with pruning.
So what are the kinds of things we're clinging to that need that pruning?
Oh, it could be anything. Old habits, outdated routines, draining relationships. They're now just obligations, maybe even old identities that don't fit who you're becoming. People stagnate not because they lack potential, but because they're carrying all these commitments. They're just slowly pulling their identity away from their actual purpose.
You can't step into a focused future if you're still clinging to an unfocused past.
That's it. And maturity is understanding that attachment without purpose just leads to stagnation. Pruning isn't a punishment. It's an alignment.
So how do we move from just having this intention, this clarity, to actual consistent action? Because an intention is just a wish until you do something about it.
Well, Chapter 5 is very clear on this. Discipline is prioritization in action. Your priorities aren't what you say is important. They're revealed by what you do, repeatedly, day after day. Discipline is just the daily obedience to the choices you've already made.
And that consistency, it protects your focus from drifting. It cuts down on that internal friction, that debate you have with yourself every morning about what to do.
Right. When your habits are aligned, the daily decisions just disappear. You just execute the plan. And this is where the whole conversation gets elevated beyond simple productivity hacks. This is Chapter 6. Focus as a spiritual skill.
Spiritual skill.
Yes, a scattered life is rarely a peaceful one. The ability to give your full, undivided attention to something or someone is deeply, deeply connected to your own inner order and peace.
Which is so vital today when you think about it. Distraction is literally engineered into our world, our phones, our apps. They're designed to weaken our ability to be still.
Exactly. So focus becomes a kind of resistance movement. It lets your mind dwell on something important rather than just drift from one notification to the next. And in that dwelling, that's where wisdom has a chance to show up.
Okay, let's get tactical with this. If we need discipline and stillness, how do we translate that into what the source calls ruthless time stewardship?
Time is our most valuable non-renewable currency. And the book argues that we don't lose time by accident. We usually surrender it voluntarily. Through neglect, through casual commitments, through a lack of boundaries.
So stewardship is about conscious allocation. Give us a technique, something someone can do tomorrow to start protecting your time.
Protect your mornings. It's that simple. Too many of us start the day by opening our email or calendar. That immediately puts you in a reactive mode. You spend the rest of your day fighting other people's fires and answering to their priorities.
You're giving away the best hours of your day.
You are. A ruthless time steward creates a protected block of time, maybe until 10 a.m., where email is off, the calendar is closed, and you only work on your single most important task. That boundary is non-negotiable.
And this approach leads to what the source calls a quiet victory in a very noisy world. I like that phrase.
It's a great one. It challenges this idea that visibility equals value. Ruthless prioritization shifts your focus from appearance, how busy you look, to substance, the actual quality of your work.
Because depth is built in obscurity and only revealed in time.
Right. When you work without needing that constant validation, that applause, comparison starts to lose its grip on you, you're honoring your own process, which all culminates in this final critical distinction, choosing purpose over pressure.
Okay, what's the difference?
Pressure is external. It's a reaction to what others expect, and it's usually driven by fear. Fear of missing out, fear of letting someone down.
And purpose.
Purpose is internal. It's your compass. And it makes decisions radically simple because you know right away if something aligns with your true north or not. Pressure demands immediate results. Purpose respects the process. It's choosing direction over reaction.
And that brings us to the ultimate reward the source talks about in the conclusion. The freedom of fewer things. It's hard, it takes courage, but the payoff is huge. Peace of mind, steady progress, a life that feels aligned.
It all comes down to this. Success isn't measured by how much you can handle. It's measured by how well you handle what truly matters. You don't need to do more to become more. You need to do less, better.
So we've really traced the whole journey from seeing that our lives are overcrowded to choosing this intentional path, protecting our clarity with real discipline and stewardship.
And so for the final provocative thought we want to leave you with, it comes straight from Reuben Onunga. He says this: many people pray for strength when what they need is clarity. They ask for more time when what they need is fewer commitments.
Wow, that distinction is profound. So if you audited your own commitments today, your roles, your habits, even that relationship you're carrying out of guilt, what is the one thing you know you need to cut off that, if you removed it, would make the most space for the purpose you've been neglecting? Think on that this week. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.